What if I told you that your weakness for people pleasing has little to do with wanting to keep people happy and everything to do with your fear of rejection and your desire to control the outcome? I'm speaking from experience. I used to have a people pleasing problem. I didn't even realize that I was doing it. I thought that I was just compromising. I felt like I was being accommodating or selfless. So in reality, what I learned is that I was attached to the outcome. I had a hidden agenda. For years, I wanted to get married, but kept ending up in bad relationships. My life changed when I finally broke unhealthy patterns. If you're ready to get out of your own way and become a more confident woman of God, you're in the right place. Let's get started. If you're listening, please follow the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. People pleasing is not a kind act. As much as you try to fool yourself, it's fear-driven with an agenda attached. So I'll take you back to when I used to be a chronic people pleaser. When I was dumped at 23 years old, that was the first time I faced a major rejection. I was overcome by this fear because it was so painful. So what I was doing is I would go throughout my life saying yes when I really wanted to say no, or being coerced into doing things I didn't really want to do, because underneath of my yes was my fear of being rejected. When I got dumped, I was made to feel as though I just wasn't easy enough. I wasn't compliant enough. I was difficult. When I look back, the things that he said to me when he broke up with me, I misinterpreted them because I was so upset. But I was immature. So I'm there thinking, oh, if only I'm easier, if I'm more chill, if I'm more compliant, this won't happen to me again. That was the trigger that set me off to fall into this trap of people pleasing. Years later, when I had my third boyfriend, Lord, he was a hot mess. He had a lot of problems. One of them is that he was bipolar and off his meds. If you don't know anything about bipolar disorder, it can be quite extreme. What I dealt with him is he would have these episodes that would just happen one after the other, if you will. When people are bipolar, they can get set off by some type of trigger. What I caught on to is that his trigger was not getting his way. He didn't work. Like I said before, don't judge me. Because he didn't work, anything he needed, he would come to me for the money. I didn't like this at all. I grew up with a father that worked and supported the family. This was not normal to me. Again, I didn't realize how sick I was as to why I was putting up with this at the time. And if you go back to my first episode, I talk about all the things that were going on that I ended up discovering of why I made the decisions that I did. But anyway, he was a hot mess, and so was I. When I look back, he would have a full-blown episode where he would yell, get angry, he would threaten to leave, just give me a very hard time if he wasn't getting his way. So I would people please, not all the time, but I would give in to certain things with the agenda of controlling the outcome. But I was telling myself at the time that, oh, I love him. I want him to be happy. I'm not happy about this, but I could compromise on this. I could give in with that. I could go along to get along because I love him and I want the relationship to work out. Man, I had a hidden agenda. I was terrified of him leaving. I thought that if I said no, that he would break up with me. I would get labeled as difficult, selfish, etc. So, for example, he was a smoker. I do not smoke. And he just had to have his Newport cigarettes. Newport cigarettes are expensive. This was years ago where they were maybe about $8 a pack, something like that. That adds up quick when somebody smokes a pack a day, especially when you're the only one working. So I didn't agree with this at all, but I convinced myself, oh, well, maybe you could just give in here. If he doesn't get his cigarettes, he's going to get upset. But he is addicted to them. And well, what's he supposed to do? He's not working. Like this whole thing I'm going through in my mind and convincing myself that I'm concerned about his happiness. No, I was concerned about him leaving me. So I would give in and I would buy the cigarettes. And then afterwards, of course, I would feel resentful that I'm spending my money on this nonsense. People pleasing, I feel like it comes in layers. The other layer is I couldn't leave the pack of cigarettes there when I went to work because now he smoked the whole thing. So now I would try to reason with him and I say, let's agree on 7 cigarettes a day. And when you run out of them, don't call me, don't bother me. Of course, he start calling me, asking me where I hid the rest of the cigarettes. I mean, it was just madness. So this is a bit of an extreme example. If you relate to what I'm saying, tell me about your times that you've people pleased in the comments, please. I know I'm not alone here. It sounds so stupid and foolish when you hear somebody else talking about it. And when you look at your own situation, you can come up with reasons for why you're doing the nonsense that you're doing until you get yourself some help. So I was lying to myself about why I was giving in. I was not driven by love. I was driven by fear. Fear of being labeled as difficult to deal with. Fear of being broken up with. Fear that he would leave. Fear that I had to control the outcome or else. His happiness at the end of the day was not my goal. My comfort was my goal. And like I said, I wanted to be seen as chill. I wanted to be seen as a good girlfriend. And I didn't want to be labeled as difficult, as selfish, as hard to get along with. I thought that that's what made a woman desirable because I got confused after my first breakup. Before I move on, let's get something straight. We cannot get into talking about people pleasing without talking about her twin sister codependency. I've said before, I'm a recovering codependent. I'll break it down. What's the difference between people pleasing and codependency? Because they're very closely related. People pleasing is when you make yourself smaller. You eliminate your true opinion and you say yes to something, or you go along with something when you really wanted to say, no, you don't agree with this. Codependency is a helping disease. This is when you make yourself responsible for somebody else's responsibilities. People pleasing and codependency go hand in hand. And at the end of the day, the hidden agenda is you want to control the outcome. So after I got therapy was when I got clear on all of this, that deep down, I just wanted to prevent somebody from getting upset with me. I was so afraid that me being disagreeable about something or not being easy about something, it made me undesirable as a girlfriend, as a sister, as a daughter. I was telling myself all of this, almost like it was my own version of how to win friends and influence people. You gotta people please your way through it. And at the end of the day, it's not honest. You are not being authentic when you people please. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to other people about what you want, what you feel, and what you think. You say to people, oh, it's okay, or a big one is, I don't mind it. I can do this, I can do that, or, well, I guess. When that's not really how you feel, you want to say no. You want to say, I know she did not just ask me to do this or to do that, or why is she pushing me? Or that's really what's going on in your mind. You convince yourself that your fear of the outcome is heavier than the resentment that you're going to wind up feeling. So the other side of people pleasing, sometimes you'll say yes because you think that if you say yes, they'll say yes to you later on. And then you end up feeling resentful because now you're giving, and they're not giving anything back. If you're like me, you're totally unaware of how unhealthy these patterns are. I had no idea that this was what was going on beneath the surface. You have to pause, take a breath, get yourself together before you say yes, because these patterns are so ingrained in you that you have to really put some thought into it before you say yes. I talked in the last episode about how you got to train in the off season. You got to get your mind right. You got to be prepared. So my therapist gave me 4 questions that I need to ask myself before I say yes. You think I'm playing? I have a note card with what it is that she told me to do. And she said, listen, go write it down. I was like, okay, let me get myself together because I was sick. I needed some help. Well, at the top, I labeled it before saying yes. Number 1, is this something that I want to do? Number 2, what will I have to give up by doing this? Number 3, what will I gain by doing this? And how will I feel if I do it? So let's unpack these. This blew my mind when she had me write all these down. I just felt so put on blast. I was like, oh, Lord have mercy. If I'm really to think about these questions, I really start to get honest with myself about what's really going on here. Is this something that I actually want to do? Most of the time it was no. I did not want to buy that dude's cigarettes? I felt like if you don't work, you don't eat. That's always what I was taught. That's from the Bible. It was totally against my principles, my moral code. I don't want to buy him these cigarettes. No, is the answer. What will I have to give up by doing this? In that case, my dignity. I had to abandon my own convictions and my money that I worked hard for and I wasn't making much at the time. What will I gain by doing this? This is when you really get slapped upside the head. What are you actually gaining by doing this? You know what I was gaining? His approval. I was gaining what I thought was peace. For the moment, there's no way that you can go over these questions and then tell yourself, oh, well, I didn't know what I was doing. Yes, you did. How will I feel if I do it? Resentful. I'll feel like a pushover, like a punk. I'll feel like I'm being taken for a ride. I'll feel like I'm being used. I'll feel like I'm being financially abused. That's how I'll feel. You don't even realize that you get this fix. So in the moment, you don't even realize that you're going to get resentful. But if you're to ask yourself these questions, you got to be honest with yourself. If you really want to be free of people pleasing, it's going to take work. I want you to get your own note card, piece of paper, whatever. Write down the 4 questions and ask yourself these 4 questions before you say yes to anything. Over time, you will no longer need the note card. You will get to a point where you know what you think, what you feel, what you want. I have to make it clear that the goal is not to get better at saying no. It's to get better at being authentic and being honest with yourself and to stop attempting to control outcomes. I hope that this helps you the way that it helped me. Tell me your experience with people pleasing. Tell me how it helped you in the comments. And if no one has told you today, you are important, you are enough, and you are worthy. If today's episode encouraged you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.